Yes, sir, we are good to go.
Okay. I think thank you for your quick introduction of whatever you have said for me. It is a pleasure and very good morning to all the students of SCMHRD and the faculty members. I don't know if any faculty members or any of your professor has joined this session. Very good afternoon. It's a good morning to everyone. I think we have budgeted for 1 hour and then followed by a fireside chat, right? That's what my understanding is all about the session, right?
Correct, sir. Yes.
Okay. And all of you are aware of the session topic that has been designated to me to speak for today's session, right? So yes, I'm going to see, and it is let us make more interactive in many dimensions that is possible. It's not a presentation that I'm going to share with you. It's more of the experience and the future roadmap of how the business analytics is going to work for us in the strategy consulting business. That's what we need to look around, right? So basically, you guys are going to be the future leader of the industry. So you need to understand how you need to frame yourself. What are the dimensions that you need to look as a strategy consultant when you are getting into the industry? So I'll give you the insight of those aspects in terms of how things are happening. What are the things need to be look forward? How the application of the various analytics can be embedded into your business consulting or a strategy consulting. I'm just framing the points that we need to go through in today's session. So if you are all are okay with this and the application and the benefit that we would be looking forward, is it fine with you all? So you're fine with this approach? Okay. Thank you. I think let's start. And I think you all are coming from a background of the either from the business consulting or a strategy consulting or a operation consulting or a I don't know the background of the students on that are here today in this session, right? So I believe you have a multi-dimensional stream students, right? And all are the management students and getting into this first year and the second year, right? If I'm correct.
Yes, sir. We have
Okay,
students from senior HR and business analytics and infrastructure development management.
great. So let's see how the industry works in today's context and let us frame in those lines. First of all, I do understand that you guys have gone through an enormous set of various researchers being a consultant, right? You understand what is business analytics is all about, right? How things are framing out in today's world, how the data analytics are changing in the world of dynamics. But I will talk in a different perspective in terms of how the business is performing, how the analytics can play a role, what are the aspects that the environment are going to be changed in this dynamic situation, right? How what are the key levers that we need to look through in today's when we are looking into the industries in terms of the strategy consulting business. Mostly the strategy consultant get deployed when there is a need for the business to transform, right? If the business is working fine, if they're hitting the I will say the threshold of the revenue or the profitability, they need not to transform, right? What we need to see, how the business need to transform, what are the things that we need to look for in terms of the analytic solutions that will help us in terms of the various aspects that we are looking forward in terms of the businesses are concerned, right? So basically I'm going to talk about the market dynamics and the support system that need to be aligned in terms of the analytics, that how the business is going to frame today I mean say now and the future, right? So uh, just to give a quick understanding in terms of the various aspects that we understand as a business analytics, right? So as I said, this is going to be an interactive session. So if someone from the student team uh, can let me know what is your understanding of the business analytics. I'll take a pause. Any volunteer? Hello.
Sir, we
Sam,
have one student as volunteer.
Hello.
yeah, yeah, please.
Good morning. This is Bharat Bhushan Wadhwa from the Junior Business Analytics batch.
Yeah, Bharat.
So, sir, business analytics essentially refers to uh, making your decision basis the prior data that you have in a very high level context.
Okay, okay. So any other thought? Bharat said that it helps us in the decision making prior in terms of the prior context or the historical event that we have seen in past, right? Bharat, anyone else would like to
Yes.
volunteer?
Sir, adding to Bharat's point, sir, business analyst builds a bridge between technical and non-technical stakeholders.
Yeah, would you please call out your name if you don't mind?
Sir Satya Prakash, senior
Satya
VA.
Prakash. Okay, okay. I hear Satya, I hear Bharat. I think we are getting into the dimensions that we need to understand, right? So it's good to have this understanding. So now if I look, right, what is the business analytics? Basically, the business analytics, I would rather say this is an automated set of data analytics practices, right? So you have various sources of the data. You are playing with the data. You are understanding the data. As long the data is talking to the business and the business is talking to the data, that is where the analytics can play a significant role. So basically the business analytics is a set of an automated data analytics practices that all we do as a strategy consultant, right? And the various tools and the services that all we understand from the business context as well as the process context, right? So you need to understand how the data is whatever the integral aspect of the business context and the process context uh, that has to be a part of your operational data. Now you are using this operational data, as Bharat mentioned, to improve your decision making, to plan for your future aspect, right? So this is how the term business analytics came into the picture, or the data analytics came into the picture, in terms of the when we are associating this with the various intelligence, right? Today we are playing the various analytics tool, the data analytics tool, as an intelligent driver for us when we are making a decision, or when we are changing the business processes, or we are transforming the business processes, right? uh, so if we look to the various aspect of data analytics, how things are changing in the consulting world, right? Or I will say in the strategy consulting business. So we used to do an operation and supply chain strategy. We used to do an organization strategy. We need to do a technology strategy. There are various dimensions where a strategy consultant is playing a pivotal role in the current industry, right? And this is a tremendous opportunities where you can enhance your your client experiences. Basically, you are serving the client in a various dimensions, right? So you are enhancing your client experiences. You are advising the clients by using your data analytics capabilities, and you are leveraging those business analytic insights in an automated fashion, which is going to be part of your I would say the consulting skills set that you are developing today as a strategy consultant in the world of disruption, because we have seen how the pandemic has disturbed the entire business processes, right? So every data analytics has an involvement of the technology and the hardcore of statistics, right? So you interpret the data. First of all, what you do? So any idea what you do with the data? I'm just asking the student. So I'm just taking a pause for a minute. I'm asking the student, what you do with the data? Any thought?
Sir, firstly, we'll clean it so that it is in the format we need. It is in a business ready format.
Okay. That's good, Bharat. So I think Bharat is the most active one in the session today. So anyone else apart from Bharat would like to respond to my query? What you do with the data, right?
Hello, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Monica from Junior Business Analytics batch. So for the data part, I think we should first segregate it in terms of the parameters which is in accord with the business acumen. That would be the first primary step.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good point, Monica. So Monica said the segregation of the data based on the business acumen, right? Okay. Bharat said we have to look for the data which is where can be usability of the data, right? So Bharat. So any other thought that we need to understand here?
Hello sir, good morning. Artik this side. So I believe that as Bharat said, we should first of all clean the data because there will be so much in today's era when there is so much data. We have to first of all find out what is the meaningful and what is the meaningful data. We should extract that data and then we should process it and then present it in a in a better way so that it is in a clean format.
Yeah. So I think what you have mentioned, what happened? Something when. I don't know. So can you hear me?
Yes sir. Yes sir. Yeah.
I don't know. I pressed something. Yeah. So Hardik, what you have mentioned, it is very well. I mean, it's well articulated and it is very well applicable in context of the strategy consulting, right? So going by the thought, what you all have mentioned, right? So let me put in a different dimension, a little bit of different dimension, right? Because now we all are seeing there are advanced data analytics are playing in the role, right? So all the data are supported by the artificial intelligence. We have advanced market insight. We have the secondary researches. We understand the customer profile in our various social domains or the social media domains, right? All the data are quite spread. It is not like what we used to see in the primitive age. We used to do a time and motion study, we used to collect the data, we used to capture the data, I would say, in that way, and then we do the analysis. But here the data are readily available today and we have a large set of data. So we as a strategy consultant need to understand how smartly we can deploy those data in the form of analysis, and that will help to measure the various metrics. Now let me put what is metric stands for. Do you understand what the metric stands for? Any guess from the student team? Any guess? Anyone would like to speak up? What is the metrics?
So the numbers which we measure, they are like for any thing which we are studying about. So say we are talking about website visits, then visits, number of page views. So these are all metrics.
Okay, I think Brunel, right? Brunel has raised his hand.
Yes, sir. So can we say it's a system of measurement?
Yeah, it's a system of measurement. So I would coin the metrics: aim, measure, E, everything, right? Then what is that? MET, that, measure everything that required in customer satisfaction. So for me, I coin metrics in this way: measure everything that require in customer satisfaction. It can be anything, and your customer can be anything, right? So aim stands for measure, E for everything, T for that, I for in, C for customer, S for satisfaction. That's how I coin metrics. So anything and everything that will lead ultimately what we'll do with the data. What is going to be measured? A satisfaction is going to be measured. If you are not able to meet this, there are various, if you remember the Keynote diagram, right? In our statistics model, we have seen there are stated needs, unstated needs, implied needs. So when I'm giving a customer with my data analytics, a stated needs is serviced, as well as I am able to understand what are the unstated need by looking into the various data analytics. That gives me a different kind of satisfaction, right? So we need to play with the data in terms of metrics that is going to be measuring everything that is required to the satisfaction of the customer. Customer can be anyone, as I mentioned, right? It can be internal, it can be external, it can be indigenous customer. Your professors can be a customer. For your students, fellow students can be your customer, right? When you are doing a various group studies or something else. I'm just referring to in that context. So now you need to understand, when I say that what we are going to do with the mammoth data that is floating around in the world today in a various forms, right? So we all understand there are various forms. We understand the discrete data, we understand the continuous data, we understand the non-normal data, we understand the normal data, and how that analytics is going to play for us in a different context. Because I am giving you the insight because based on my experience of the industry. See, I'm not going to a stereotype presentation or something. I'm sharing the experience which, as a strategy consultant, what is expected from a strategy consultant by the industry or by the customer, right? So as I was mentioning, we need to understand various insights when we are measuring that performance metrics. In the complex situation, in the simple situation, the changes that is happening across the world, right? And this is a huge market. It's a huge market of the analytics consulting. I would say this is around $60 billion of market today, what we are expecting, right? And this can be raised in $100 billion market. So as a strategy consultant, when you are building up those kind of capabilities, and in terms of a strategy consultant is known based on his or her skill set that they are having in terms of the analytics mindset, right? So when you're coming as a strategy consultant, your analytics mindset, your analysis, your observations are the key weapon for the success as a strategy consultant as well as for the business. So we talk about the various things, right? People talk about, okay, I'm doing a strategy consulting analysis, I am doing a supply chain analytics, I am doing a finance analytics, but everyone is doing an analysis. How smart you are doing the analysis, that is where you are leading in terms of your capabilities, right? So in terms of your competitiveness, you need to understand what is the age of analytics in the era of today's digital disruption, I will say, right? In the era of today's digital disruption, how we are going to bring those skills, how we are going to survive, because every day the analytics, the way we used to do the analytics is analysis part is getting changed. The analytics consulting dimensions are getting changed because if I go back to around 20 years or 15 years down the say back in terms of when we started our careers 25 years back, so that time we used to we are measuring everything in a very silo manner. If we have to do an operation, we used to look for the operational data points. If I have to do an improvement in the HR, I used to do an HR understanding. If I have to do an IT improvement, I used to do an IT. If I'm doing for a supply chain improvement, I will focus on the supply chain analytics, right? But in the today's business analytics context, as a consultant, when we are doing, please do remember, you have to understand the cross-functional impact. There are dependencies, both internal and external dependencies. So within the process, there are dependencies. Between the process, there are dependencies. So when you are looking for data to be analyzed, you need to understand what is the impact of your upstream and the downstream from both the dimensions. So what I'm saying, you need to understand both from the client data as well as from your operational data, right? So you have to understand what is the statistical pedigree or the analytics that has to be repackaged. You have to repackage the thing. Everybody is doing the analysis. Everybody is doing the analysis on the same data set. But as you are repackaging the data, that is what is the future of strategy consulting in the data analytics form. You have to repackage the data. You have to remodel the data, right? And you have to talk, the data should talk to your business. And the business should talk to the operation. The operational data should talk to the client data. The client data should go back to again to the business requirement data. So basically it is a demand supply of the data management. I would put it in this way. Today's data analytics is a demand supply of the data management. What you are doing with the supply data, how you are fulfilling the demand, how we are addressing the invariability of the process, and how, for me, if you look, I would say people talk about I am improving my yield, I am changing my percentage of yield, I am improving from 85% to 95%. So I'm just shifting my mean. For me, meaningless, to be honest. When I'm doing a data analytics as a strategy consultant, I don't focus on the mean. I focus on how to reduce the variation or the standard deviation of the process. The more you repackage the data in terms of, I would say that when you're presenting to the executives or the CXO level executives, you need to understand how you're repackaging the data, because mean anyone can address, right? But if you are reducing your standard deviation, if you're minimizing your standard deviation, that's how you are bringing the process stability. You have to understand how you are going to control the process with your real-time data analytics, and how you are taking this analytics as a forward path, right? So I would say this is a in any process, data analytics is a catalyst, right? Or it is a flesh on the bone, right? So that's how I look into the data analytics. And if we look, we have to be very hard in terms of deriving the hypothesis from this data analytics. So you have to have a very strong acumen of the statistical business process understanding. Once you have that understanding, that will help radically in terms of your approaches, right? Because the way that you will be talking to your client or your internal stakeholders with the set of the data which is going to be a proof of evidence of the business processes. So you need to understand how you are going to effectively mine the data. When I say how effectively you need to mine the data, so data mining is a very crucial aspect in today's concept. Now, what I do with the data, as Bharat mentioned, Brinul mentioned, I think Monica has mentioned, right? So I'm just recollecting the name. Maybe I missed out some of you. So when we are looking into the data, right? So what are the first step we need to understand when we are hitting into the business processes? First of all, we need to understand what is my business need, right? So what is critical? If you remember that there is a terminology called critical to quality, right? CTQs. You need to understand what is my client CTQ. If you are producing a product, if you are servicing the client, whether it is a service industry, it is a manufacturing industry, any industry across the world, any geographies, all the demands come from the client, right? And when the demands come from the client, you need to understand what is the criticality of the demand that is coming from the client to your business and how the business is going to serve that. So first data collection point of yours in the analytics world as a consultant, you need to understand what exactly the requirement of the client and what is the client profiles. There are age group of the client. There are demanding client. There are very straightforward clients you will be facing as a strategy consultant. So you need to understand what the client look like? Basically, if I look today, Bharat, okay, how Bharat look like? Bharat is from Maharashtra, or I don't know from where you are, Bharat. So Bharat is from Maharashtra. He is a little bit of fat, thin, or whatever it is. He will look like this. He has a demanding nature of such and such things. And say Akshay is a very quiet, calm client for me, right? He only smiles. So the things that I need to give him, something to make him happy, something he should smile. And for Bharat, he might be a demanding client for me, the way I look Bharat. So now what I need to do? To do a profiling of Bharat or say Akshay or Monica or Brinul, I need to look for their social analytics space. I need to see how that person is changing based on the various, I'll say the volatility of the demand fluctuations in the market, right? So you need to do a secondary research before you get into the client, before you are talking to the client as a strategy consultant. So basically, as a strategy consultant, I remember when we started the career, we used to do a blue books. So for us, the blue book was to understand, it is like a post-mortem of everything and anything that can be possible to understand the client requirement and the industry requirement. So that's where today's is very simple. We have AI, powered AI, we have cognitive solutions. It is a huge support to do the data analytics. You can run the various modular. You can do a lot of collect the various chatbot histories. You can look for various aspects of how the client has interacted in the social media domain, right? So what he or she has put in those kind of domains. So those analytics inside you have to capture firstly, right? That's what the future I am looking in terms of the strategy consultant as a roadmap to follow when you are doing data analytics, right? So that's the prime phase, I will say, to understand the client requirement, translate that into a business requirement. Then we will see what to do next. First is you have to define, as Bharat says, define the requirement. You understand the requirement. So first you define the requirement. First you define the criticality. Based on that, you have to plan your data collection. You cannot take every data. So what shirt I am wearing, it doesn't matter what food I eat, right? Am I correct? So you need to understand from my social analytics page or from my interactions or from my feedback, anything and everything you need to understand. If you are doing for a work for an hospitality industry, in today's context, you need to understand what is the preferences of this person. If you're going to a restaurant, it should be an automatic, okay, this is the person, Mr. Saurav is coming to the restaurant. I should, being a restaurant service manager, I should know these are the preferences that Saurav is having. Whether he is wearing a green shirt or a blue shirt or a yellow shirt or a pink shirt, doesn't matter, right? We need to understand what data we need to collect. If it is we are doing a project for the hospitality industry, yes, the data is required on those aspects. If we're doing a manufacturing industry, we need to understand the order management system. We need to understand the demand pattern. We need to understand the supply pattern. We need to understand the industry requirement and the challenges each and every aspect that the industry, the specific industry is going through. Now, if I am saying, okay, there is a phenomenal dip in the industry of the retail today, retail manufacturing, I will say, right? Because everything, so nowadays we are not going into the stores. Mostly it is an online shopping that we all are dependent on. So now what we have seen in past, we used to go to the malls, we used to shop around and the various areas, right? People used to go to Biman Nagar in Pune. I remember, I have seen those days, right? People used to go to the what is the Chinchevodi and all those places, roaming around, doing things, nitpicking shoppings, right? So that's how things are happening. That's how the things are changing. You need to understand your industry, the demand of the industry, the volatility of the demand that is getting changed. So as a strategy consultant, this is what I would say should be a path forward for you to understand the mapping of the demand. And based on that, we need to understand what data we need to collect as a part of the data analytics, right? So once we have that understanding, now the second thing will come, how effectively we are going to analyze that data, right? What is the data criteria that we need to analyze? As I have mentioned, measure everything that required in customer satisfaction. Your analysis should be based on the satisfaction that you are going to enhance or you are going to transform to the customer in a transient way, right? I'll say this has to be part of a very uh, transitional aspect. And today, if you see that this is a mutual bonding that we need to play. We are talking to the customers or the client at every dimensions, whether to our chatbot, whether to an interaction, whether to an in-person interaction, whether to an online interaction, we are chatting, we are interacting with the customers or the client in every course of action, right? So I'm going to say as a budding consultant, you all need to understand in a very early stage of your career as a strategy consultant, what exactly I am going to give to my client or the customer, that the industry I am working in that way. So your decision tree, as Bharat mentioned, uh, uh, it helps us. The data analytics help us in terms of decisioning. So the more faster decisioning is the way forward in terms of the analytics that you were bringing up into the table. So I didn't have to, now it has to be an automated decision making process, right? So when I say the automated decision making process, we used to do a lot of work in our planning processes, right? We used to plan. I'm going with the production planning aspect in our earliest days. Now everything an automated planning process. But who has defined the process? The business consultant or the process consultant has defined the process. Okay, these are the things you have to measure in your planning process when you are doing a demand planning or a supply planning. These are the things you have to define. Based on that, your product consultant develops some of the algorithm, and that algorithm is based on the various set of data, and that data set is approaching to your data territory. So you have to be very specific in terms of your sampling techniques. You cannot have the entire population of the data set. I'll say the amalgamation of the data is a huge today and it is easily available. Everything is in the cloud. Everything is in the open source. So it is easily available, but you need to be very specific in terms of what data you are taking in terms of your decisioning process. So this is how your data expertise will lead to the process excellence and the business excellence. So mining of the data is very important and crucial as a strategy consultant in the way forward, right? So I would say, as I mentioned, knowing the various aspect of the analysis, the data analysis, I will say in that way, whether it is a small analysis, large analysis, medium analysis, we need to have timelines. We need to understand, okay, this analysis, because why I'm saying when you're doing an analysis on a timely basis, you need to understand various aspects, because today, whenever you are doing an analysis, the priority gets changed. Maybe the pandemic is getting over soon. Whatever the analysis has been done during the pandemic, we have seen how we have survived, right? We have seen how our analytics approach has bring a rhythm in the process in a smarter manner. We have captured those various sampling techniques to understand, to get the pulse of whether there is a requirement of vaccination, how effectively that can be done in by the government, how the vaccination can be transported across the various region in India, who are the first set of people to be vaccinated, who are not, right? And how now we are coming to the people below 18 years, how that has to be done, how effectively we can address those concerns, how effectively we can reduce the mortality rate of our country based on various analytics that has played into the business, right? There's a potential aspect in terms of the rhythmic sense of smarter way of doing it, because you have seen how the government has done in a phased manner. A lot of analytics has been went into this, and a lot of statistics I think has been played to make the process a very robust, and they have transformed in a various dimension. Every day the demands are getting changed. So you need to understand, when you are doing an analysis, timeline is very critical, because you should not think that, okay, I'm getting a data, I will be doing it for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. You have to have a phased wise analysis manner. So that's how industry is looking from you, in terms of how you do a phased wise analysis in terms of the requirement of the business. Am I correct? You understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is one of the aspects I just wanted to bring it up and to share with you. The other things, when you are getting into our industry, say today you get hired by IBM. So you need to understand how your competitors are performing in the same industry. What is your competitive analysis? How you are going to comprehend that analysis? Competitor analysis, comprehending that is the way of where you are getting more business opportunities. Why IBM? Why not other organization? Why the client should come to IBM? Why not other organization? Because we have developed such skill set which is required by the business, required by the industry, required by the clienteles, right? Because they knew this is where you are providing the richer insights to the business in terms of various analytics tool, which is talking both from the process perspective as well as from the technology perspective. We have looked on those aspects where the technology can support the processes with their analytics tool. So now when we are talking about the data mining, the second step, which is very critical in the context of the strategy consulting business today, is to do the process mining. Now, we need not to do the process mining that we have done in past. We need not to sit with the process. We did not to walk through the process anymore now. Please do remember, students, I'm saying, please do remember, today we are moving from those days to an automated process mining world. This is the future of business process consulting or a strategy consulting. You need not to spend, say, 7 weeks, 8 weeks by sitting into a process, walking through the process, and so on, so on, so on. Now everything with your data analytics, with the power of AI, power of automation, power of cognitive, all the tools that we have developed, the companies that developed, with the power of that, the Sigma Pro, or I'm just talking of those kind of Celonis and other things, right? With this power of those tools, we have the data which is getting out of the processes from of the respective business are now getting mined in the processes. So that's how we are doing the process mining. That's the future. Is the real-time information which is quickly available and helping me to take my strategic decision in a quick manner, in a I will say in a defect-free manner, So this is an interactive analytics tool. This is an interactive analytics tool with the management decision making process along with the business process and the operational process. So please do remember, this is where the data analytics are going to provide you a richer insights in terms of allowing your decision in the targeted facts. You have the targeted facts that what I have said in the measure everything that required in your customer satisfaction. That's your targeted fact. And that will help you in terms of the various directives which your process mining, or I'll say the automated process mining. Let's put it in this way. Automated process mining is going to be the path forward of data analytics. So if you look all the big strategic companies or the consultant that they are playing today, right? So what is the consulting landscape that we are bringing up? The consulting landscape are now getting changed. That is where we need to understand what is our way forward. The consulting landscape is getting changed. The strategy consulting landscape is getting changed. So no more the men in black strategy consultant to be. Today we have to look in terms of the lens of the data analytics as a strategy consultant. So when we are putting the lens of the data analytics, I will say it is a curve that is we are bringing into the industry where we are developing the strategies. First, we are developing the strategies. Then this is more of a build phase, right? You are developing the strategies. Then you are deploying the strategies, right? You are deploying the strategies among the various requirements. Then you are executing the strategies in terms of transforming the business processes. The execution of the strategy should be in terms of your business processes. That is being driven by the smarter data analytics. That's what I'm going to talk through in terms of how you're building this. So build, optimize, deploy, execute. So you first build, then you optimize the things, you deploy into a pocket, then you execute that. And that's where you have to govern with your strategy, right? You have to govern with your data analytics strategy. So that's how, sorry, that's how we are building a tailor-made strategy in every instances where it will have a huge impact in terms of I will say it is just like tendering the data, which will have a rapid growth in your data and analytics business processes, right? So basically, if you see, we used to be people dependent at one point of time. Now we are saying we are analytics dependent. People dependency now came to the process dependency. Yes, process dependency will continue. Now we are analytic dependent. We are data analytic dependent. Without a data analysis, we cannot take a decision. The decision making is sharpened. The decision making is adequate. Decision making is faster because we are evolving various hypotheses in terms of understanding and executing my business process transformation or the process transformation, right? So we are talking today as a digital workers. Please do keep it in your mind when you are when you're moving forward. We are a digital worker. I coined this term, a digital worker. If not, I would say, I would rather refine this. So digital strategic analytics worker, right? So I will put it in this way. So now maybe in the future, we would hire the strategic analytic people with the mindset of the strategy and the both of the analysis as my digital workforce, as my strategic workforce. So we are talking Both the process are talking in terms of analytics consulting, as similar time we are taking the help of the technology, whether it is an AI, automation, whether it is a cognitive or whether it is a quantum, whether it is a cloud. Those technologies are playing a pivotal role in terms of my, whether it is in terms of my decision making with the data analytics that I am following today in terms of the various industry requirement. I mean, say there can be various examples. I can talk through hours and hours on the many examples where we have deployed such kind of bondings, where the process is talking to the business, business is talking to the technology, technology is talking to the process, process is again going back to the technology, right? So this is an integrated workflow. You need to understand this is an integrated chain of analysis, integrated, I will say, integrated cross-functional dependencies that need to be catered when you are doing your analytics. So basically, your artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, advanced analytics, whatever you say today, you have to frame it. You have to understand the requirement. As I said, the data collection plan. It has to be smarter. It has to be intelligent. You cannot play with each and everything. It has to be very specific. It has to be discrete in terms of the business requirement. It has to be in the way that it can address both complex and the simple processes. You have to have innovative thoughts and the creative understanding while you are doing those kind of analytics work, right? So basically what we are saying here, work based on the situation, understand the volatility of the demand, make a faster decision and making with the confidence of the hypothesis that you are building today. Your confidence of hypothesis should be, I would put it in this way, the data volumes are increasing heavily every day. I'll say billions of data are getting populated across the world, across the business processes, right? You have to understand how quickly and accurately those process data or the business data can be a business drivers for you. Please do remember the process data or the business data, how that can be a business driver for you, how that can help you in terms of the smarter analytics solutions, in terms of the advanced business planning, in terms of the advanced demand management, in terms of you have to give a customer experiences. The customer or the client or the user should have an experience from you. You have to change the user experience in every now and then, right? So the way that you give an experience to your fellow student members or your faculty members, that how you stands apart. You have to think beyond the analytics boundaries. I would say think beyond the analytics boundaries, right? Think about the effectiveness of catering those pivotal needs in terms of your vital requirement of the business. Once you cater those, your process will be in the specification limits or the control limits. You have to understand how you are going to do the residual analysis or the outlier analysis of the business processes, because sometimes the outlier analysis, when we are talking to the entrepreneurs, right? The entrepreneurs always look for, wow, this is the outlier of the business processes. Why can't I take this as an outlier and I make as a process stability and I give this as a solution to the industry or to my users or to my customers or the client to enrich the experiences. And this has to be, I would say, in a effective cost has to be there, right? We need to understand how we need to cut the cost. How we need to understand how we can combine various aspects all the processes in terms of automating your analysis processes, right? Or automating your, as I mentioned, the decision making processes. That is should be there, right? How you can streamline your various cost measures, how you can automate those, how you can anticipate the various predictive analytics. Let's put it this way. Now, today we are no more into the prescriptive analytics. I hope you understand what is the prescriptive and the predictive analytics, right? Anyone would like to throw some light into the prescriptive and the predictive analytics in the data analytics way forward that we are looking? I'll just take a pause. Anyone would like to share your point of view? What is prescriptive analysis?
Sir, so prescriptive analysis can be something.
Not Bharat, not Bharat, not Bharat. Anyone else apart from Bharat?
So, sir, prescriptive analysis, it tells us like how can we make it happen? Like how there is this thing and how can we make it happen? And predictive analysis tells us about what is going to happen.
Okay, so I would put it in this way. Okay, you go to a doctor, right? Doctor gives you a prescription. That's your prescriptive analytics. You share your problems. You share your various, I would say, the phenomenon of your how the health is performing, various health related data, various performance of the health. Based on that, the doctor provides you a prescription. That's your prescriptive analytics. He talks about the various medicine that you need to go through it. That's your process control. What is the medicine? Is the process control. It is helping you to control your various, say, if you are having high blood sugar or a high blood pressure, doctor will give you those kind of medicines. That's your controlling factors of the of your business process of a human body. Okay, so doctor is giving a prescription. Based on that, you are getting the medicine. Medicine is acting as a catalyst or a change agent in your business processes to transform your health of the body in a decent shape from where you were because you understand, he understands the as is, and he is giving a prescriptive solution for you. That's a solution to you, which will lead you to be, right? So doctor understand the as is. Based on the as is, you get a prescription. The prescription gives you a solution of your business processes to improvise or to transform your body. And based on that, you build your body for the to be. So people go to the gym, people go to build their body, right? So you have a gym instructor. That is a prescriptive analytics for you. I'm giving you a real-time example, not from the example from the industry, so that you can relate what I'm talking, right? What is a predictive analysis? Predictive analysis is you don't have an understanding of what is going to be the solution, right? You are predicting a problem. In the prescriptive, you already had a problem. In the predictive, you are doing a predictive analysis, you are doing a prediction of a problem. Based on that, you are taking a countermeasures. So based on that, you are deriving your solution. Based on that, you are developing your solution so that the problem should not arise. This is how you are anticipating the to be before the problem hitting to you, so that your business process are much robust than what we have seen in past. Am I clear? So you need to understand what is in your any of the business process, you need to understand what is the predictive analytics. Basically, you are forecasting your business problems, and based on that, you are taking a solution and you are optimizing those outcomes which will never hit to a problem. So this is a test and learn phase when you are doing a predictive analytics. You build something, you test into an environment, and before implementing this into an environment, you see what it can be the potential impact in your business process or your decision making process. That's the data analytics or the business analytics solutions which will help you in terms of the agility, in terms of responding the changes. So your data analytics is going to play the change agent, automated change agent for the ease of business. Is it clear? Is it clear? So you can use various evolution of this data analytics, right? While you are doing this predictive analytics as a play, you can use and the various things are available in terms of the AI based analytics, the Python, R. People talks about all those cloud-based analytics tool, cloud data management, various softwares are there, and that can be with those who are in the professional in the computer science and other things. They are developing various softwares in a real-time basis, which is helping us to understand the pinpoint business problems. And it is more important thing is how you are communicating with the data, right? How the data is informative in terms of your business decision making. And it is common for across the industries, whether it is from the manufacturing industry or the finance, healthcare, uh, or in the banking, anywhere. Or this is also across cutting the various business line of business, whether it is a sales, marketing, supply chain, procurement, finance, operations, logistics. Anything is fine. Anything is fine in terms of those, right? So you need to understand how things are changing, how business is changing, how the data analytics are leading to the success of the various business problems that we have undergone. So this is a life cycle. I will say this is a data analytics for a strategy consultant. It is a life cycle, right? So you cannot avoid this life cycle. You have to transform, you have to use the data, and data, I would say data is the blood for us. We cannot drain out the blood from the body as a strategy consultant. You have to plan the analytics, you have to accelerate your analytics, you have to deploy those analytics results, right? Basically you have to empower the process. I coined this word and take it for granted in your future cases. You have to empower the process with the data that is required in terms of various changes of the various business dynamics. You have to empower the process with the data. You have to empower the client with the information that is coming out of those data. You have to empower those, right? So you have to visualize those things. We have various cognitive analytics is playing a role. The Watson analytics is playing a role. I am saying we have seen many changes, many decision making changes. We are using the Power BI, we are using the Power AI, right? So those kind of things you need to understand how better effectively in the future we need to address those. So the strategy consultant, as I mentioned, you have to plan, you have to describe, you have to talk to them, and you have to empower the processes with the data. The process should get empowered in an automated manner. Please do remind, you have to empower your process. There's no other way we can survive unless we empower our process, unless we empower our measure everything that required the metrics part or the KPIs part, because that is where the automated combination of the multiple data sets are getting visualized and shared in terms of accelerating the business processes, right? I think I don't know if we are on the top of the time. So we talked about the diagnosis, we talked about the analytics, we talked about the predictive, prescriptive. We talked about the role of a consultant, the strategy consultant in the various dimension. We talked about the acceleration part. We talked about how things are going to frame in the world of the consulting. I'll say this is going to be, as I mentioned, we should call ourselves as a not only as a strategy consultant, right? So the analytics part has to be there somehow. The data analytics is going to be a driver for us. So improvisation of the transformation, create the experience, improve your operational efficiencies to the data analytics, help the business to understand what is how to generate the new revenue streams. I talked about the entrepreneurs, how they looked about, how they touch upon on the outliers, and that outliers bring into the business controls. You need to understand how you can rapidly adapt to the changes, right? In the conditional changes and the new normal changes. The conditional changes will be there throughout our life. The demands will be volatile for us. So you need to understand how we talked about, right? How we are going to have the power of AI, data science, cognitive, various APIs, automations that is getting played into the business activities or the strategic imperatives, I will say, or the process imperatives. When I say we have to get the process empowered and get married with the data. So as we say, the meaning is meaningless for me. I would say the process is processless without a data. The process is meaningless without a data, right? So I cannot have a process which is not giving an adequate assistance in terms of my intelligent decision making through my data analytics, whether it has been supported with the AI, blockchain, IoT, cognitive, Watson, anything that will help me in terms of the better business decisioning and to optimize the various business processes, and keeping in mind the cost which we need to lower down and the productivity has to be increased. As I mentioned, we have to bring more agility in our approaches as a strategy consultant when we are going with the data analytics as a tool, as a empowerment of the business. You need to reinvent your business processes, right? You need to reinvent your technologies. You need to understand how the supply chain can be reinvented, how the cloud business processes can be reinvented, how your robotic process automation or I would say the business process modular can be reinvented, right? So we are talking of the artificial intelligence. Tomorrow we should talk about the smarter reinvent artificial intelligence. What is that? We need to think aloud. We need to be innovative with the data because it is easily available today. You cannot blame that, okay, I don't have the data. So you need to understand how you need to transform those, right? So yes, the experiences for the customer is the key for the success. You have to make your customer delighters. You have to understand how the data can be mined and how the automated process mining can be done. So we talked about all those aspects, right? So has to be a phased mannered approach, and the disruption has to be catered, and the organization need to be digitally reinvented. So you have to make your organization or your industry digitally reinvented, right? So that's what I would talk from what we have seen in the early days of digitization. Then that has moved to the digital transformation. Now we are talking about the reinvention of the digitization, right? So smarter digital reinvention powered by the data analytics is the way forward. I think we are on the top of the time. I'll take a pause and so that we can have a fireside chat. Thank you for patience listening, right? Hope you all enjoyed.
Yes, sir. We definitely will. So maybe you can take a couple of questions from the students. Students can post the questions in the chat.
Can someone navigate with the questions on the chat? Can because I don't know how to navigate to the chat. I am not.
Sir, you have the icon, the second left
If you
icon on the
can
top. Yes, sir,
just
I
go
can.
through. Yeah.
Surely, sir. So, Prithvish Banerjee asked that, does diagnostic analysis play in strategy consulting? If yes, can you give an example for the same?
Can you please repeat once again?
Yes, sir. Does diagnostic analytics play any
Diagnostic
role?
analytics.
Yes, sir.
What you say? Diagnostic analytics.
Yes, diagnostic analysis play any role in strategic consulting? Uh, if you could quote any example related to
So
that.
we talked about the entire session is about how we diagnose the analysis, right? So any specific things, it's a practice, right? So I talked about. Okay, let me put it in this way. So uh, let us take an
Actually,
example.
what I meant by the question was that so diagnostic analysis analytics basically deals with the question as to why something happened in the past. So, so are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so that's what I was asking, that to how important is it to analyze like why exactly something happened in the past for a uh, strategic consultant.
Yeah, that's you. As I have started when I started the session, I mentioned you have to understand the historic data, because that's will give you the event logs, right? What has happened in past as a strategy consult. That's what I said. When we look to the blue books, we look all those historic patterns of the industry, how the industry has been behaving, because that will help you to understand how you're going to build up your forecasting models. Based on those analytics only, you will be able to build up your forecasting models, right? If you don't see any mortality rate because of the pandemic of the coronavirus, then why should we build the vaccine? That's an example I am putting it up, right? If you have not experienced any mortality rate, people are not scared about the mortality. People are not scared about how these things are spreading. That's a historic event we have seen. Historic, it not mean that okay, we have to look into the history in what we have read in the books, in the historical books or the illustrative histories, right? We have to look in your historic events can be a month in advance. So you have to look the historical data. Based on that, you have to derive the solutions. Based on that, because that will help you to forecast. Okay, today we have seen the mortality rate. If this is the virus that we have seen, as I'm giving the live example of the corona COVID-19 situation that we all have undergone. Why we have wear the mask? Have we seen anything before? How the industry has changed, right? Because if we spread the virus, the mortality will be high. We need to understand what hypothesis we are going to build. When we are building the hypothesis, you have to look back to those historical events. You have to understand the log of those historical events, and from there you have to capture those data which you need to do an analysis for it. That's how your data analytics plays a role. Am I able to respond to your query?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Prithvi, you can go ahead with your question.
Sir, a strategic consultant, in my knowledge, is someone who works in various fields of domains and solves various complex problems, right, using data. So, is there any situation where they can be tempted to use their bias, human bias, and like in such a situation, what should a strategic consultant do to avoid this?
Okay, let me put it in this way. So your understanding of strategy consultant, right? So you said, okay, they always only go for if there is a complex. No. Is that only thing the strategy consultant plays in the complex role? Come with a suit, the men in
No,
black, walk in, give the GAN of the complex situation which does not implement?
no, not as such, but like situations which are handled by strategic consultants are
So
usually
how
complex,
you
right, on a
frame
higher level.
why you think like that? Why you think like that? I'm just putting it because this is a fireside chat, so we need to understand both the perspective, right?
This is what I
Where-
have done from my research of a consultant, strategic consultant role.
Okay, so this is what you have done as research, that okay, the strategy consultant always goes in the complex situations, right?
Yes,
and,
sir.
and the strategy consultant don't go into the operational work.
They do go, but then major work
So they
is
don't,
on
they don't want to be a brown collar rather than a white collar, right? Or a black men in black suit.
nothing as such. But then, like the majority of the problems, what I think, what I have read is that they solve in a complex problems in the higher
Okay, so
level of
I
management.
come from the hardcore strategy consulting business, right? I'm a hardcore operation and supply chain person. I'm just giving my example. So I started my career in Tata Steel as a soft floor steel melt shop. So I used to melt the steel standing in front of the furnace at a 1640-degree temperature. I've been into various steel plants across the world. I have lifted the gunny bags. You know what is a gunny bags is? Being a strategy consultant, this is no complex situation. I have lifted the gunny bags because that time the requirement was to understand the process. So if I don't understand the process, I will be in a vicious circle. I will talk something which does not linked with my business processes. In the today's world, a strategy consultant, if you are a strategy consultant going to an industry without having a pre-knowledge or the knowledge of the business processes or the industry, do you think there is an acceptability of a strategy consultant in those industry?
Not if you don't have an understanding, not just strategy, but
Then
any
how you are
consultant wants
then
to.
how you are going to solve the complex problem? So strategy consultant is not only made, I'm just making you correct. So let us keep that mindset out. Strategy consultant, it is not only that the companies are hiring, the strategy consultant is to take a big decision of the strategic decisions, right? It is not the Prime Minister of India is hiring a strategy consultant for his decision making. Strategy consultant, as I mentioned, you need to the data analytics part of the strategy consultant. You need to understand how you govern the hypothesis. Okay, you need to understand what value you are bringing in the process, whether it is a complex, simple, whatever the business scenarios are. This is more of a scenario the strategy consultant plays, building the various scenarios. Whether the scenario is acceptable or not, that depends on the business processes. Your job is not only to look whether it is a simple or a complex business. Your job is to look the business process. Your job as a strategy consultant. So if you have a mind frame, okay, I will only go, I'll walk in, I'm just kidding, okay? If I only walk in with only the CXO board meetings, I will come into the board meetings, I'll put on my analysis, I'll put up my all the analytics results, I'll show the board, yes, I am the strategy consultant. No, that world is gone, to be honest. You need to have an hands-on experience of the business process. Then only you will get the value. Then only people will talk to you. Or you will say, okay, this is a strategy consulting jogi came to me and giving some GAN without knowing my business processes. Please be mindful. It should not be that case being a strategy consultant. When you walk into the client, you walk in with the confidence. That confidence will come from the agility of the analysis. That confidence will come from the hypothesis of the data analytics that you have done as a strategy consultant. That I will say the confidence will come from your industry expertise and the knowledge. Today, if I am going into a deep dive of any industry, I should know the industry from more than the person working on that industry. So make it very clear. People are having different mindset, but I play in a different consulting world. When I go into the client, where irrespective of the industries and irrespective of the geographies, I have been into across the geographies. Except Antarctica, I have not been into Antarctica as a continent, but I have worked in every continent of the world. Okay. You have to adapt the cultural changes. Being a strategy consultant, you have to become a change agent. I said that, right? Data is going to be a change agent, right? So as a strategy consultant, irrespective of the complex situation or a simple situation, you need to bond the process. You
Yes,
need
sir.
to navigate the understanding. You need to navigate the requirement of the business and walk in as a confidence based on your skill and the knowledge. I have seen many consultant, many strategy consultant, they get lost. They get really lost because they come with the mindset, I'm coming from a B school. I know best. I know better. I know much, much better than anyone. I come with a men in black suit. No. Unless and until you have a knowledge of the business processes, industry, and the data that you are handling, the interpretation of the data is highly important, irrespective of your business processes and the situation, right? Am I
Yes,
clear?
sir. Yes, sir. And my next question was, what in a case of human bias?
So
Instead of this working,
if you are a bias consultant, I will say thank you, Kalam. You should be biased by your hypothesis. That is based on your facts. You should not be biased by your opinions or the knowledge that you had a bookish knowledge or your secondary research. You should be biased by the process analytics. Your biasness should be by the process analytics. If I am challenging Kamal, right? If you get biased, you will stick to a one options of derivative solutions. You have to come with the multiple options. But those options are having a better business values. Okay.
yes, sir. Thank you so much.
I think we have 5 more minutes or 6 more minutes.
Yes, maybe we can take a last one question. So Brunal, yes, you can go ahead.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an insightful session. So my question is, in the field of data analytics used in various domains, especially consulting, the use of data is extremely sensitive and we use that for better decision making. But behind our algorithms and our data, our precursor is a human being. So my question to you is, in a decision making aspect, what is more crucial, our data set and our model, or the human that sits behind that?
It's a very good question. Very, very good question, Bruno. And I really appreciate it. I loved it. Okay. So you have nailed it in the other ways, I will say. So what is important, right? So I'll give you a example, to be honest. Okay. Yes, both are crucial. I'll not leave anything aside. And this is not that, okay, we are ramping up in the scale of the priorities. Both the dimension has to build in, and they should have collaborate with each other. They should talk to each other. First of all, let me put it in this way. You cannot bypass one aspect with the other, because human aspects are crucial, as well as when you are giving some insight out of the analytics, you're talking of the facts, you're talking about the truth. Okay. So for example, I'm just saying, if on a lighter note, because I think we are talking for almost 1.5 hours now, in a lighter note, if you are sitting next to your say fiance, and your girlfriend step in and say, okay, hi, let's go for a date, right? So both aspects are playing here. You have a data analytics, which you have seen both in past as your prescriptive analytics that you are going to take it forward, and you have a human sentiment to play. So you have to manage the situation. This is what we call the situation-based consulting approach, right? So data is giving you the facts. Okay, you have a lot of crisscross. You had a lot of bitter experiences with the past. Might be you're looking something better in the future with your fiance, but that does not suffice your needs because you are now getting in both the dimensions, right? So that's where you have to do a situation based strategic analysis. That's how your consulting behavior or the consulting skill set has to come out. That's the skill of a consultant. How you address those complex situations. I think Kamal was mentioning about the complex situation, and this is really a complex situation for us, right? In any dimension. How you handle those complex situations. So now giving an example, as I was mentioning, so I was in Caribbean, okay? So I spent 2 years of my time in the beautiful beaches of the world in Caribbean. I have traveled all across the 22 countries in Caribbean, starting from the Trinidad and Tobago to Barbados to Cambria, everyone. I mean to say Saint Lucia and all the places, right? Bahamas and all. So within that Caribbean country, we have seen, and I was working for, I don't want to name the company, or I was setting up the consulting business over there. So I was going with the same data set, same analytics result, same interpretation of data, but there is a huge difference between the cultural aspect of the people, of the human nature. The people who are in Trinidad and Tobago, they don't talk the same way the people that we have seen in Barbados. These guys are silent. These guys are quiet observers. They are the arrogant. They are coming up. They're the different kind of generations, right? I have seen people standing in a queue with a handful mug of beer since morning 8 o'clock, and they are standing in a queue to update their passbook. Whereas in India, at that point of time, we are talking about the digital banking, digital world of banking. So they are laid back. But you cannot implement those similar solutions in the same contextual aspect. So that's what I have mentioned. You have to do a sneaker net test. Sneaker net means you run, you set up a test and learn environment, you see both the human aspects, you have to adapt those culture and then play your statistics or then play your data analytics. So which is not good for that set of population, please don't use it. It will come as a boomerang to you. Adaptability. So you need to understand adaptability of the changes. So when we are going by the 2x2 matrix, if I look into this 2x2, right, or say 4x4, you need to understand the adaptability, acceptability, implementability, and the benefit. So this is where the adaptability scale will be there. How this, whatever your recommendation are getting adaptable by the business processes. How it is, there is an ease of implementation. It is very difficult to implement, please don't touch it. It has to be a staggered manner. You look for the low hanging fruits, which is easily implementable and easily adaptable in this matrix. Then you say, what is the cost factor? Easily implementable, easily adaptable, high benefit. That should be your quadrant, right? So no complex situation here, Kamal, okay? Easily, I'm just referring to what he was mentioning. So a strategy consultant need to understand what is easily implementable, what is easily adaptable, what is the benefit that I am getting quickly, and how it is, I mean to say, rolling out in the implementation manner. Now you think what technology you are going to play, whether you are going to bring it as a AI, cloud solution, or this, that. So technology is an enabler to the process. But you need to understand the consequences. So am I able to respond to you, Brinul?
Yes, sir,
Happy?
definitely. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Hope you will, whatever we have discussed, hope you will be practicing this in your consulting world, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think
Definitely. Yes, sir.
we are
So
at the top
as
of the
we are
time.
running out of time, yes, sir. So
Yeah.
I take this opportunity to thank you for such insightful session. I think students have learned the coinage of the abbreviation metrics, measure everything that is required in customer satisfaction, the demand supply of data management, and we being the new digital workers, how should we approach the consulting problem? So we, the students of SCMHRD, are privileged to host you and look forward for continuous engagements with you in the future, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, and it was a pleasure. I think it was a great discussion in the fireside. I will remember Kamal. I mean, say in my life too, definitely. I'll remember those who have spoke. Bharat, I stopped you. Sorry, because you were the one who was talking, and then I have given an opportunity to others to talk as well. And Brynel, good question. I think Monica. We all interacted, right? So thanks everyone. And if those who are yet, I mean, say if you feel that the other students might get the benefit out of this session, you can definitely, I think the session is get recorded and you can put it into your channels in the YouTube or in LinkedIn and wherever the recordings, so that people can browse through it in the later phase of time. So I give the permission to do that. So please put it there, and if you want to tag me, you can do that. And I'm available on LinkedIn and the social media pages, so you can get connected with me. If you have any question in the future, please don't mind to reach out to me. Okay, I'm easily accessible, and don't take me granted for the implementability. Sometimes it is easy to implement, but sometimes it is hard based on the scenarios that we are building up. And happy learning, and let's continue to be a great strategy consultant and the future leaders. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, sir. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Students can leave the call.